Hi, let me introduce myself. I am Desdemona Isabela Scarisoreanu, PhD student at University Politechnic of Bucharest. Please allow me to present the paper drawn under the coordination of Professor Liviu Ghiculescu. The name of the paper is External and Internal Analysis of Multimodal Freight Transport in Romania. The paper focuses on the external and internal analysis of multimodal freight transport in order to implementing the European Green Deal. According to the provision of European Green Pact, rail freight traffic is set to increase by 50% by 2030 compared to 2015. In the current geopolitical context, the modernization of the railway infrastructure, with the emphasis on the one that it's part of the rail freight corridors, requires urgent and sustainable measures. These measures will support the transfer of goods from the road system to the railway network, which will lead to a discongestion of road traffic, a reduction of number of road accidents, and a reduction in the level of pollution. The analysis of external environment involves the research of both the general external environment and that of the competitive external environment, as well as the strategic groups. The general external environment is characterized by the forces acting on the multimodal freight transport, which have multiple effects such demographic factors, economic factors, politico-legal factors, etc. Thus, on the one hand, the railway sector labor force is aging and there is a driver crisis, and on the other hand, EU and national policies encourage multimodal transport. Integrated IT systems have been introduced by monitoring position and condition of goods, and tranship technologies have been improved. At the same time, the state finances differently the modes of transport, creating a competitive advantage for road transport over rail transport. The non-internalization of external costs generated by road transport allowed road transport operators to offer lower prices for the services provided, as a large part of real operating cost of road transport services is distributed to another actors in the national economy through the system of taxes and dues. In Romania, land transport generates in the national economy total external cost of 21.66 billion euros per year, which represented 6.5% of GDP. Among them, rail transport generates external cost of 0.46 billion euros per year, and road transport generates external cost of 21.2 billion euros per year. Thus, as the macroeconomical level, rail transport is obviously cheaper and more advantageous than road transport. In addition, the underfunding of maintenance and repair work of the Romanian railway network has led to the introduction of a large number of speed restrictions, which has led to a decrease of average commercial speed of freight trains to 16 kilometers per hour. Due to this, the traffic on the Romanian railway network does not require high-performance rolling stock, so that over 60% of the total rolling stock owned by the rail freight undertakings is more than 30 years old. However, the Romanian rail freight market is attractive, the companies with domestic capital competing with the multinational companies. As well, the modern of the five forces which operated in external competitive environment indicates that the multimodal transport freight market in Romania is attractive. Regarding the strategic group, it includes both multinational companies and companies with Romanian capital. In this case, the cost leader strategy is applied, which involves lower costs for research and development, not aimed at improving product performance, but only technological solution to reduce costs. The analysis of internal environment aims to study the following elements: resources, capabilities, and fundamental competencies. On the one hand, it is about investments in public rail infrastructure in Port Constanța, which is to be part of extensive modernization program, and on the other hand, the maintenance of and repair works of the railway are underfunded. In terms of capacity, multimodal freight transport is the sector that is channeling efforts of the at the European level in terms of innovation and the identification of the most practical solution for the transport of goods from road to rail. The SWOT analysis shows that the multimodal freight transport in Romania is in the ideal maximum situation in which the strong points are much more than the weak ones, and the external environment offers more opportunities than threats. In this situation, it is considered appropriate to adopt an aggressive strategy in order to create a net competitive advantage. In particular, it is a matter of encouraging rail freight transport to reduce carbon emission. The transport sector has a major impact of economic growth and business development and the development of rail transport logistic chains. Companies such as Dacia, Ford, and the Romanian subsidiary Daimler Star Assembly have urged decision makers to invest in railway modernization. Thus, in order to increase the railway traffic speed, it is necessary, on the one hand, a proper financial allocation from the state budget and the efficient use of European funds in order to carry out repair, maintenance, and modernization works to lift the speed restriction on certain section of railway network, and, on the other hand, the extension of introduction of RTMC system on the pan-European Corridor 4, which crosses Romania. It is also necessary to increase the electrification of the railway network in order to reduce pollution, as well as the introduction of a modern railway traffic management system in order to increase the degree of automatization. At the same time, it is necessary to implement as soon as possible the European project entitled Revision of the Timetable Redesign (TTR) process. Its aim to increase the capacity of rail freight infrastructure at EU level. Also, it is necessary to develop the network of intermodal freight terminals. The use of all models of transport helps to reduce carbon emission and reduce the number of road accidents. Multimodal transport has additional cost compared to unimodal transport generated by the additional work required to organize multimodal transport, longer time, transit time, etc. It is less reliable, punctual, slower than unimodal transport. However, multimodal transport provides connection to remote or isolated area. Technological advancement has led to improved freight forwarding technologies to use of telematic application for rail freight transport, real-time monitoring of freight and trains, the management of connection with other modes of transport, etc., but also the introduction of RTMC system to control rail traffic and to avoid collision and derailments. The use of all modes of transport requires skilled labor, and there is currently a labor crisis in the freight transport market, whatever is the reduced train capacity and the aging forces in the rail system or the driver crisis. In Romania, the multimodal transport is an ideal maximum situation in which the strong points are much more than the weak ones, and the external environment offer more opportunities than threats. Such, it is considered appropriate to adopt an aggressive strategy in order to create a clear competitive advantage. In particular, it is a matter of encouraging rail freight transport in order to reduce carbon emission and achieve the target set by European Green Deal. In Romania, the freight rail transport it is an ideal maximum situation where the strengths are more than the weak ones and the external environment offer more opportunities than threats. In this case, it is considered appropriate to adopt an aggressive strategy in order to create a net competitive advantage. A proper financial allocation from the state budget and the efficient use of European funds in order to carry out repair, maintenance and modernization of railway infrastructure. Expanding the introduction of arithmetic on the railway network, introducing a modern rail traffic management system, increasing the electrification of the railway network, implementing the TTR project as soon as possible, expanding the network of intermodal freight terminals, promoting measures to internalize external cost generated by road transport so that this mode of transport is not advantaged over the rail transport. Thank you for your attention.